Hello, I am Daniel. I'm Teacher Daniel, and thank you for watching. Today we're going to talk about tardigrades, part 2. My daughter told me that in these videos I speak too slowly, but I think I prefer that. I think if I speak slower, then you can turn up the speed on your YouTube to play at 1.25 times the speed, and then I will sound normal. Okay, today we are going to introduce tardigrades part 2. Okay, all right, here we go. Tardigrades part 2. There are more than 1,000 species of tardigrades. Tardigrades grabbed headlines in 2007 when a team of scientists sent tardigrades to space. There, they were exposed to the vacuum of outer space, as well as 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation on Earth. When the tardigrades were returned to Earth, they not only survived, but also began to reproduce. Although tardigrades live in water, they can survive without water for a long time. Scientists have reanimated tardigrades that had been dry for almost 10 years. Okay, let's look at our vocabulary words. Okay, and then there are some words that I want to talk about that are not vocabulary words. More of a review. Okay, all right, grabbed headlines. Okay, so first of all, this is past tense. The original form is grab headlines. Okay, we will talk about what that means later. Grab headlines. Okay, be exposed to. Be exposed to. Okay, be exposed to. Be exposed to. Vacuum. Vacuum. Okay, vacuum. You just have to remember this part. It's very strange. I don't know. I can't think of a word offhand that also has two U's put together like that. It's quite special. Vacuum. Okay, vacuum. As well as. Okay, good. And ultraviolet. Ultraviolet. Go slowly. Ultraviolet. Ultraviolet radiation. Radiation. Ultraviolet radiation. Okay, we'll talk about what that is later. I can tell you that ultraviolet radiation is a kind of electromagnetic radiation energy. Okay, all right. Not only but also. Not only but also. Reproduce. Reanimate. Reanimate. Okay, so these words appear in the story. All right, I'm going to say that. I'm going to read that again, so that I want you to be able to read it. Okay, now separate these words so that you can see how they are read. Okay, again, being able to read the word and interact with it by saying it is probably the most important thing that you can do before you pick it up for good. Okay, all right, let's read that one more time. Okay, tardigrades. There are more than 1,000 species of tardigrades. Tardigrades grabbed headlines in 2007 when a team of scientists sent tardigrades to space. There, they were exposed to the vacuum of outer space, as well as 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation on Earth. When the tardigrades were returned to Earth, they not only survived, but also began to reproduce. Although tardigrades live in water, they can survive without water for a long time. Scientists have reanimated tardigrades that have been dry for almost 10 years. Okay, now that we have read the story, let's begin to discuss what the story is about, what this article, this passage is about, and perhaps explain certain things, okay? Okay, good. All right, tardigrades part 2. So there are more than 1,000 species of tardigrades. All right, so what is a species, right? What are species? Okay, so if you are a junior high school student or above, you may already know some of this, right? So this is something called taxonomy, right? So taxonomy is how we classify, okay, how we describe and categorize, this word you should know, how we categorize animals, right? Yes, so the taxonomy of people, let's say, is from top, you know, we are eukarya, whatever, okay? I have no idea what this is. So the upper level of taxonomy is domain, and then there is kingdom, and then we are animals, so animalia, okay? All these are like Latin or something, really hard to read, all right? So the kingdom is, we're animals, animal, and then the phylum, we are chordata, I don't know what that means, okay? And then class, we are mammals, we are mammals, and then we are order, we are primates, family, we are hominids, and then something like that, and then genus, we are Homo, and then species, we are Homo sapiens. I'm not a biologist, but here we are, species. So species is, when we talk about species, this is what we're talking about. In the taxonomy, at the very bottom level is species. So there are more than 1,000 species. This is not a new word, we talked about this word before, okay? There are more than 1,000 species of tardigrades. Okay, continue. Tardigrades grabbed headlines in 2007. What does it mean to grab headlines? It means to 上头条新闻, right? So it means to 上头条. Very good. It means to 上头条新闻, to grab headlines. So look at this. This newspaper, I believe, if I could blow it up big enough to read it, is from 1969, okay? And it says July something, Monday, July 24th or something, and then 1969 probably. All right, and the headline is Neil Armstrong walks on the moon, and he says, one small step for man, but a giant leap for mankind. So this is a headline, right? So when you grab headlines, that means you make it to the first story in the newspaper. Grab headlines. So in 2007, tardigrades grabbed headlines in 2007 when a team of scientists sent tardigrades to space. Okay, what is space? Oh, I forgot to download the picture. Here is a picture of space. Here it is, space, right? This is space, okay? 外太空, space, okay? Space is 太空, 外太空, same, okay? We will talk about that. So this is space. Okay. Here we go. Let's come back to the passage. So scientists in 2007 sent tardigrades to space. Okay. There meaning once they were in space, they were exposed to. Okay. What is exposed to? To be exposed to means to 接触到 or 触入到 whatever. Okay. They were exposed to the vacuum of outer space. Okay. The vacuum of outer space. Vacuum. Yes. 吸尘机 No. Yes, well, actually it is, right? A vacuum is this machine, but vacuum actually means no air, right? The state, right? The state of zero air, atmosphere, okay? Right? So why is this machine called the vacuum? Because that's how it works. It creates a vacuum in here, so air rushes in, right? Okay, so vacuum. So vacuum is the state of zero air, no air, zero pressure. Okay. So once the tardigrades were in space, they were exposed to. Okay, they were exposed to the vacuum in space, in outer space, in outer space. Outer space is just space, okay? As well as, okay, as well as just means and also, right? And also, as well as just means and also. So they were exposed to the vacuum of outer space, as well as, and check this out, 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation. Okay, on Earth. On Earth. Okay, so they were exposed to 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation on Earth. Okay. That's a lot. So, let's say it's very hot outside. You go outside and then you feel the sun on your skin. It hurts. It's very powerful. It's very strong. Well, that is ultraviolet radiation hitting your skin. Now imagine 700 times more powerful than what you experience when you go outside, right? You would be burnt to a crisp. You would be barbecue. Okay, but these tardigrades, they were exposed to the vacuum of outer space, as well as, and also 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation. All right, so radiation, here first, radiation just means this. This is radiation. Radiation, when something radiates, let me write that down. When something radiates, why is it not working? Okay. This is not happening. Okay. Oh, here. When something radiates, okay, that's a verb. Radiation has a don't, has a verb, radiate. When something radiates, it goes out in all directions. Okay. Radiate, 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 radiate. When something radiates, it goes out in all directions. So if this light bulb is turned on, the light radiates, right, in all directions. If you have something that like uranium, something that is 有辐射, something, right? Yes. And the radiation will radiate from that thing, right? Yeah. Okay. So radiation just means light. Okay. Yes. So light equals radiation. So radiation is like light. Okay. You can call it light. In fact, people sometimes call ultraviolet radiation ultraviolet light. Okay. And what is ultraviolet? Okay, let's just talk about it a little bit. Not important specifically to this, but it's important to study the word so that you can use it in another context. Okay. All right. So first of all, violet is purple. Should I call it purple? Whatever. Okay, let's call it this violet. Okay. Yes. And ultra means outside of or more than, right? Yes. Past, right? Okay, ultraviolet. So so if you look at the this color spectrum here, right? Yes, it says that, well, look, okay, the wavelength, okay, and here make it bigger, and here is the wavelength, right? The wavelength, right? Yes, of ultraviolet light, okay, is 10 to the minus 8. Okay, that is the wavelength of ultraviolet light. It is past the visible light. Visible means 可见, right? So the 可见, the light that we can see is only in this range. And ultraviolet cannot be seen, right? Yes, because it is past. It is past the violet spectrum, okay? It is past the 紫色的 spectrum. So that's why it's called 紫外, right? It's past the violet, right? Ultraviolet radiation, okay? All right, so ultraviolet radiation, ultraviolet light. So these tardigrades, they were put in outer space and they got, okay, 700 times the amount of ultraviolet radiation than on Earth, okay, compared to what they would get on Earth, okay, and that would kill for sure any other kind of animal organism. Okay, good. Let me just explain the whole story first, and then we'll come back to talk about this very important word. Okay, the word amount. Okay, it seems very simple and easy, but it really isn't. Okay, amount. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so I'm here on Earth. Good. All right, let's continue. When the tardigrades were returned to Earth, they not only survived, but also began to reproduce. All right, so why 被动 here? Well, because people sent them to space, and then we brought them back. They didn't return on their own, right? If I had said this, that would mean that the tardigrades came back on their own, right? Themselves, right? And that wouldn't make sense because they can't do anything. They can survive, but they cannot do anything, right? So when tardigrades were returned, I need to say the 被动 because when they were returned by us, by people, by the scientists, right? That is so when they were returned by the scientists, I'm a terrible typist. When they were returned by the scientists to Earth, they not only survived, but also began to reproduce, okay? They did this and did that, okay? So not only, but also just means simply they did this, and then on top of this, they did that, okay? So not only, but also. Very simple, don't need to talk too much about it, okay? So they not only survived, they are not only 生存, they not only lived, okay, lived. Later on, we'll talk about this word, perhaps in class, the word vivre. Should I include the E? No, let's just do VI. Yes, this part, this word part actually means live, okay? Let's do green. Green means life, right? Okay. Woo. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to do this. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Give me a second here. Okay. So they not only survived, but also began to reproduce. All right. Let's talk about this word. Pay close attention. Produce is to make something. Okay. Right? To make something. All right. And to reproduce, means again, to do something again. So when you make something again, I'm going to say again, make something, produce, again, reproduce. When you make something again, in this context, it means to have babies. Okay? Yes, all of you are here. I'm here because your parents reproduced. Okay? Right? My parents reproduced. Right? And then I have children because I reproduced. So reproduce is to have children. Okay? Have babies. Okay? In this context. All right, good. So so they not only survived after they came back from outer space, they began to have little baby tardigrades, okay? And that is amazing. Okay, continue. Although tardigrades live in water, they can survive without water for a long time. Okay, so their environment is to survive and live in water. But when there's no water, when there is ganhan, when there is drought and everything dries out, they can live, okay? They're not the only animals that do that, but they can do it for a long time, longer than any other animal that at least I know of, okay? So they can survive without water for a long time. Scientists have reanimated tardigrades that had been dry for almost 10 years. So they have experimented where they dry out a tardigrade. And they took a water bear and then they dry it. Okay, so basically it looks like it's dead, right? But it's not, right? And then they dry it out and they leave it there for 10 years. And then they, put them in water again or whatever, right? And then they actually, the tardigrades actually became reanimated. What is reanimated? Let's see. Animated means moving, can move, right? And what things can move aside from robots? Living things, right? Animals. And that's why animals are called animals. You see the word animate? It has the word animal in it, right? Yes. All I gotta do is put an L right there and I get what? What do I get? I get animal, right? Yes, animal, right? Animal. So animals are called animals because they can move. So animate, right? Yes, means moving. Okay. And then to make it so that it can move again. So means again, right? Means again, and animate means move. So move again. It means what? To bring back to life. right? Like 科学怪人, right? Huh? Reanimate, right? Yes, to take something that looks like it's dead, and then to reanimate it so it can move again. All right, reanimate. Okay, you know, 科幻片 science fiction always talks about reanimations. You know, zombies, for example, right? They die and then they are reanimated, right? Yes, reanimate. Okay. Oh, and by the way, another example of animate meaning move, is Japanese cartoons are called what? Anime, right? Anime, right? Anime means Japanese cartoon, and cartoons are pictures that can move, and that's why they're called anime. Okay, all right. So scientists have reanimated. This is a 动词, a verb. Scientists have reanimated tardigrades that have been dry for 10 years. And that is truly amazing. Okay. Okay. So that's good. I have one more thing to say to you. Again, please, you know, I'm going a little bit fast because I don't want to spend too much on one video. And so please rewatch it if you know you skipped, maybe you weren't paying attention, or anyway, learn the things that I'm trying to teach you in this video as thoroughly as possible. All right, so I want to talk about the word amount. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right here. Amount is, you know, it seems quite easy, but it's not. And there's a couple of things I'm going to talk to you about. All right, because when you talk about the word amount, all right, there is no direct correlation with some English, with some Chinese phrase. Okay, there is no 一对一的关系 with Chinese. Okay, so amount, you have to translate the word amount differently depending on which sentence, depending on the context. I'm going to show you. Okay, all right. So amount simply just means 量, right? A 量 of something, right? An amount of something, right? Okay. First of all, let's talk about how to describe amount. 大量, all right? I want to say big or small, right? Well, the words to use to describe amount, if you have a lot of something, you're going to use large. Don't say big, a large amount. You're going to use large to describe amount, okay? And for large amount, well, that's a terrible color, okay, large amount. And then for little, for a little bit of something, then you're going to do a small amount, okay? And by the way, amount, 可数, it is countable, so don't forget the article here, right? All right, don't forget you have to put an article here because it is countable. And because it is countable, you have to say a large amount, a small amount, okay, as you will see later, okay? All right, he gave me an amount of money, right? Notice an amount, right? I followed my own rule. It's countable, so here is the 冠词, an amount of money. Well, what does amount here, what does it mean here in this sentence? He gave me an amount of money. Would you say, 他给了我一量的钱? No, right? So amount here means, in this sentence, amount means, voila, this, right? Yes. In this sentence, amount means that, okay? it means 一笔钱, right? He gave me an amount of money. Okay, maybe I should also include of. Okay, yeah, let's include of. I'm sorry, let's include of so that we don't have to deal with the 介系词 later. Let's tie them together. Okay, all right. So he gave me an amount of money. All right, 他给了我一笔钱，一笔 right? But look, okay, what if the sentence is this? The rain brought a large amount of water yesterday. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, here, amount means this, right? So the rain brought a large amount of water yesterday. And in this sentence, the word amount means this, right? It means that. You see that? That's what amount means. So amount changes its correlate in Chinese depending on the sentence. Okay? All right. And notice I follow my own rule. It is a countable noun, and then I use the word large, right? Yes, large right here. Okay, so a large amount of water yesterday. Okay, and finally, the last example, building a house. Okay, and by the way, you must know how to do this, right? 动名词, right? It's called the gerund, and it acts as a noun. Okay, so building a house takes, don't forget the third person singular s, because this is third person singular, 3ps, so therefore you need an s here, right? Okay, please don't forget to do that ever. Okay, building a house takes, following my own rules, a large, I need a because it is a countable noun. I use the word large instead of big, and then amount of time. Okay, I can use the word amount to describe a period of time. So building a house takes a large amount of time. Well, in this sentence, amount means what? Nothing. In this sentence, the amount is 0. It doesn't show up at all, right? It's 0. It doesn't show up. Okay, so sometimes amount doesn't even show up in the sentence. Okay, so amount, this word, it may sound or seem easy, but it's not. Okay, especially if you want to go from English to Chinese and Chinese to English. All right, so keep that in mind, and this will help you with your translation in school. Okay, I have been Teacher Daniel, and I'll see you guys in class.